Perhaps I am several months late to this weird internet trend thing, since the first time I actually heard about this strange fluffy doll was back in April, but I think I finally want to give my 2 cents on it for once and for all, even if only like 9 people are gonna see it. By now, you've probably seen it everywhere. In your classes, in the mall, or perhaps under your bed. People waiting in long lines for hours just to buy a toy. Grown adults are crashing out over not getting the type of plastic monster doll they wanted. People getting into a fist fight because they are not able to throw their hard-earned money for a chance. Depending on the product, not a guarantee, but a chance at what they want. It's safe to say, the best way to describe this whole Labubu trend is as an absolute clusterfuck. From the way I see it, it's just nothing but an intersection between the effects of parasocial relationships, over consumerism, corporate sales tactics, and the now almost constant need to find something to distract your brain as the world around you goes to absolute dog water, all coming together to produce a very bleak view of the current state of people. So allow me to take you on a little trip to see precisely why this Labubu thing is an autistic craze and actually kind of a depressing statement on the state of humankind. Now, to preface this, in case you happen to be some 7-year-old girl watching this video, which is statistically next to impossible, but I don't have a hatred of these toys. I am not a Labubu hater. I can see the aesthetic appeal and can understand why somebody would part ways with their money to buy one of these, but what I and probably a decent portion of the interwebs are, however, is simply tired of seeing this damn creature everywhere we go. It's not that it's super ugly or repulsive to look at least for me, that is. I can't speak for everyone. But it's because it's an ongoing trend, you inevitably get fatigued by it. You get fatigued by seeing some unoriginal hack with no personality whatsoever swinging around one of those fucking dolls on their belt buckles or their bags for the 2 milliseconds of social validation that comes with following an internet trend. Now, this is not the first time that some product goes viral and all of a sudden becomes a thing that everybody and their dead grandmother wants to buy. Think about Stanley Cups. You know, those expensive pieces of horseshit. But I think the difference was in how in your face they were. Stanley Cups, as overpriced and practically worthless as they weren't very present outside of social media. It could come off as any other cup since Stanley Cups actually have a functional use, but Labubus, being an accessory and less of an essential, are very present in real life. And that's just not me equating social media to real life. This is more of an objective thing that even people with jobs would notice. I went to the mall the other day to buy something I needed, and turns out I saw some grown-ass woman, had to be in her 40s or something, with this doll. I brushed it off okay, it's another adult, they can do whatever the hell they want with their life, until I see next to that woman a little kid who had to be no older than 9 with the same doll hanging off her bag. Not to beat the dead horse here, but it's clear why so many people are into this whole Labubu thing and choose to wear it all over themselves. Given the appearance of these things and the other figures that Popmart sells, their little kind of tiny and soft aesthetic, not to mention the literal hundreds of different styles that could come in, can allow a portal of escapism for someone who is entirely done with dealing with the depression that is living in the real world. Oh yeah, and not to mention the whole blind box thing and how it can basically trigger a gambling craze for the people with enough disposable cash. The kind of dopamine rush you get from engaging with the Labubu trend and sacrificing one of your kidneys in the process is what takes a decent amount of people out of reality. Whether they're doing it out of a genuine admiration of the general design and countless variations of the product, a craving of the gambler's high they get in pursuit of the specific design they want, or just to follow a stupid social media trend, it makes complete sense. A brief intermission here, my bad, but if you've made it so far into my little talk piece, I would appreciate it very much if you subscribed, and back to my point. But how do people even fall down the slippery slope of getting into this whole Labubu retardation? How is it that everybody and their pet tiger from just about every corner of the internet knows what these little monsters are? How is it that these are vinyl toys, rather than the terrible job market, massive housing insecurity, and the climate change we are undergoing right now are the culprits behind causing grown adults to crash out? Well, it all comes down to one common denominator. Most trends start with an influencer, and by influencer, I could mean literally anybody, depending on the algorithm. Whether it's some random doofus kid who decides to do something that jeopardizes his health, becoming a trend thanks to TikTok's algorithm, or some crazy rich YouTuber who gets children to buy boxes and boxes of moldy cheese and other biohazardous food posing as bootleg Lunchables, a lot of people's consumerism originates from something they saw on the internet. So how does influencer culture affect the popularity of la retardation devices? Well, to answer that question, I present to you this lady. On the off chance you're like me and have no idea who this is, this woman is K-pop star Lisa, and she was the first in a long line of celebrities who promoted these damn toys. And because K-pop is now a normalized part of popular culture and is no more associated with the angry, hateful Twitter mob that they essentially were in 2020, it makes sense that fans of K-pop idols would buy into this thinly veiled avenue of consumerism. And this is even more so when you have the people featuring this mostly being famous as singers. Female famous singers in particular. Popmart knows who they want to target. And using influencers to make their product look cool and hip worked massively, all because of the phenomenon known as parasocial relationships. In the good old 2000s, this marketing strategy wouldn't have worked nearly as well. Limited to the TV commercials, which wasn't cheap back then, by the way, print magazines, billboards that people can afford not to give two hoots about, and a horribly unappealing web format, the parasocial relationship with celebrities at the time would have been harder to form on the part of the fan, partially because going outside and touching actual grass was still a thing, and there wasn't an epidemic of doom scrolling or some loneliness crisis roaming about. But in the 2020s, after a global catastrophe that radically changed our way of life, people forming connections with the pixels that make up the image of a person on a screen isn't too out of the ordinary. There's enough people mad about this whole consumerism situation for it to be out of the norm, but the very fact that it is not the first time that a product with its inherent value tied to what other people on the interwebs think about it has gone trending tells a more grim tale. The very fact that people are rushing and throwing their money at these dolls made artificially rare to drive up corporate profits just goes to show how big of a role that capitalism, consumerism, parasocial relationships, mass oppressions, and some degree of nihilism plays in our lives as we struggle to make it through another day. I could close off this video by making some point along the lines of, "Herder, this is why companies are evil," but I don't even think it's that. These monsters aren't some demon representative figures like certain idiotic videos made by actual idiots on this platform claim. Neither are they some carefully crafted conception to get people to drain their pockets. At least when you ignore the whole blind blocks element of it. They're simply the fruit of this artist's labor that garnered a lot of traction on social media, of which the company took a full advantage of. These dolls aren't indicative of the state of modern day culture because of a singular evil company that sells collectible toys. In my opinion, they're the tangible manifestation of everything wrong with the average person today. They're a clear sign of the firm grasp that social media platforms have on humanity, and how it's used to promote consumerism like they're promoting nicotine. As the conditions of the globe make it increasingly harder to exist in real life, social media plays an increasingly larger and larger role in the alternative, and in many cases, primary lives that people live. Or all of this could be me just talking out of my ass, since I tend to do that a bit, but I really don't know. Either way, if you've appreciated my extensive commentary and or agree with my takes, I would really appreciate it if you decided to subscribe to me. And yeah, it's been a couple centuries. I'm out. Deuces.
Anybody out there? Do you know? talking about? Yeah, yeah. Can I sing my song? Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah, on a download, if I ever like wound up like buying one of these like damn furry toys I don't know, the Chinese Jesus or something, I'm gonna make sure I find like a little like because like the whole appeal of this is like you can play dress up with it, right? I'm gonna like find like a freaking Nazi helmet and like a little Nazi clothes. And then what's the thing that like communists have, the Stalinists? I don't know, dude. Like some like communist memorabilia, like the hammer and sickle, put it on top of that bitch, and like basically make a little Labubu soldier, a little Labubu Nazi. Oh my god.